Alex Bowman fails post-race tech at the Roval, and in a weekend filled with devastation and shockers, we have a lot to talk about. Let's get to it. Hey everyone, my name is Taylor Kitchen and welcome back to Above the Yellow Line, the show where we do motorsports media your way, talking about NASCAR literally all the time. And this weekend, I had not a front row seat, but two very good seats to watch the action this weekend at the Roval for the Xfinity Series and the Cup Series. So I had feet on the ground, seeing everything with my own eyes. As a fan this weekend, very refreshing. I came home, started to make a video. I had it edited, ready to upload. Then I looked on Twitter and saw the breaking news that Alex Bowman, the number 48, failed post-race tech for failing to meet minimum weights. He has been disqualified from his 18th place finish. With this disqualification, that means that number 48 is not advancing to the round of 8, and I'm absolutely devastated for Alex Bowman. He put together an incredible playoff run. There was a lot of doubt for him and his team going into the playoffs, and the questions of, does he deserve his ride? What is he doing? Why is he performing the way the other Hendrick Motorsports drivers have? And he put those bad vibes and questions to rest of, I can perform as well as my teammates, and it's showing by my convincing effort in the playoffs. And unfortunately, those efforts are getting squashed by failing post-race tech at the Roval. So for all of you that were hoping for an all Hendrick Motorsports Championship 4, it looks like that will not happen this year. And I say it looks like it won't look like it because Hendrick Motorsports can and probably will go through an appeals process. If they win that appeal, Bowman will be reinstated into the round of 8. That appeal, if it does happen, will be expedited, going to happen before we go into Vegas, just to make sure the points and everything are shaken out and everything looks good. But devastation for Alex Bowman. But with that devastation for Alex Bowman means really good luck for another driver, and that driver is none other than even number Joey Logano. The number 22 has made it to the round of 8 based off of this disqualification. And before that news broke, Joey Logano was out of the playoffs by only 4 points under Tyler Reddick. They had a very epic and very close battle back and forth in the points situations, not the cars, but the point situation, as Tyler Reddick kept gaining positions in the field and Joey Logano kept losing them. The points just started to kind of break apart a little bit around that cutoff line, and Joey Logano saw himself on the outside, meaning that even-numbered streak for even-numbered years in the championship 4 and even-numbered championships would have ended. But it looks like that might continue this year if he can make it through the round of 8, pending the appeal process. So a lot of drama to end the Roval race, but I expect nothing less. It is a wild card weekend. There's a lot to talk about, and we're going to talk about the Xfinity race as well because there was a lot of drama there. But unfortunately, that drama overshadowed the dominant performance by Kyle Larson, leading 62 laps to win the Roval race, ending the round of 12 on a high note, kind of like what he did with Bristol. So there seems to be a trend here. We'll have to see what Martinsville has in store for Kyle Larson, seeing if he can continue that trend of winning the last race in each playoff round. Regardless, let's take a look at the rest of your top 10 and where your other playoff drivers finished this race. Of course, Kyle Larson in first. Second, we have Christopher Bell. Third, William Byron. Fourth, Austin Cindric. Fifth, Chase Elliott. Sixth, AJ Allmendinger. Seventh, SVG. Both of those drivers actually took 4 tires pretty late in the race and were able to race their way from the back of the pack to the front. So very impressive there. Going from 8th, we have Joey Logano. 9th, Bubba Wallace. And 10th, Ryan Blaney. 11th, Tyler Reddick. Denny Hamlin finished 14th. Finishing 30th, Daniel Suarez. 36th, Chase Briscoe. And finally, of course, Alex Bowman in last. So knowing those results, let's talk about the 4 drivers that were eliminated from the playoffs, starting off, of course, with Alex Bowman, who was disqualified following post-race inspection. Next up, you have Austin Cindric, and I hate this for that 2 team. Just like Alex Bowman, Austin Cindric had put together a fantastic playoff run. Unfortunately, though, the round of 12 was not kind to this 2 car with finishes outside the top 30 for Kansas and Talladega. It wasn't going to be in the cards unless he could win at the Roval, and unfortunately, he finished inside the top 5, but needed that win and was not able to get it. But Austin Cindric and that whole team should be very proud of their playoff effort. This is the best I've seen Austin Cindric run ever in his Cup Series career consistently. So something to continue doing for the rest of the year and hopefully carrying that into 2025. Next up, Daniel Suarez did not advance to the round of 8. Unfortunately, after some contact with Bubba Wallace in the race, it hurt his braking. And unfortunately, from there on out, Daniel Suarez had a pretty tough time getting back into contention. Finally, we have Chase Briscoe. It was going to be a long shot for him to make it into the next round. He had to win to get in. Unfortunately, he had a tire on Roval on track after contact in turn 7. There were some mechanical issues to follow, and they did not finish this race exiting early. So those are the results for the Cup Series. And speaking of dramatic ends to a race, albeit with a disqualification in post-race tech, the Xfinity Series followed the same path with a very dicey call by NASCAR before we went into an overtime finish. Parker Kligerman seemingly drove his way to his first career victory in the NASCAR Xfinity Series, locking himself into the next round of the playoffs because he had to win to get in. It was a huge story. The crowd was cheering, and it was a huge moment for Parker and his team. Unfortunately, though, that moment was taken away by a caution. The number 42 of Leland Honeyman got into the tire barriers well before this caution was actually called. NASCAR decided to throw it moments before Parker Kligerman reached the start-finish line. According to NASCAR's timing and scoring methods, it revealed as such. So the crowd that was once cheering for Parker Kligerman, thinking he got his first win, was then sent into confusion and then outraged. Everyone around me was booing online. Everyone was really frustrated. And we're not frustrated that there was a caution. I should be very clear. The caution needed to be thrown. There was no way the 42 was going to get out of those tire barriers anytime soon. It was a matter of how long it took for that caution to be thrown. And NASCAR's reasoning behind this is it was very hard to see the number 42 in the tire barriers from where they were seeing things on the track versus where the 42 was on track. So regardless, the caution had to come out. It was a matter of, does NASCAR wait until Parker Kligerman crosses the start-finish line to get the white flag and the race is over? Does that seem fair or not? Do they throw the caution as soon as that happens? But of course, they couldn't see anything. So we have this weird in between of where they threw the caution way too late, and the absolute mental turmoil that would cause for a driver who saw the white flag, thought they won it, the team is celebrating, then all of a sudden you're told that's not the case. That sucks, but Parker handled it like a pro. A lot of us online didn't handle it as well as he ultimately did, the guy who faced this incident. I'm absolutely devastated for Parker, but I want to be clear, this is nothing against Sam Mayer, who won this race fair and square, coming in clutch for the second year in a row, winning at the Roval when he had to lock himself into the next round. Nothing against Sam. He had a great race, great car, etc. Just gutted for Parker because of a very odd call by NASCAR. Otherwise, the Xfinity Series race was so good. Again, they have the best product in NASCAR's top 3 national series. I will die on that hill. It was a very fun race, and what made it really fun, in my opinion, was turn 7. I know going into this event, everyone was saying, okay, are the changes that NASCAR made worth it? Were they necessary? Is it too gimmicky with turn 7 basically being this hard 180-degree turn? Is it just there to cause chaos? And yes, it was just there to cause chaos, but these drivers handled it very well, and it acted as a really fun passing zone. For the Xfinity Series race, I sat by turn 7, and seeing SVG basically just outwit and outplay and outlast, I guess, Survivor, everybody through turn 7 was so much fun. He had a heyday making passes in that turn. And yes, there was chaos that happened in that turn, but the drivers played it so well. It was a great addition to the track, a huge win for NASCAR. Same thing with the Cup Series. I was sitting by the start-finish line, or not even by the start-finish line. I was sitting by turn 17 for the Cup Series race, so I didn't get to see turn 7 that well. But from what I was able to see from my seat, it was really fun. Another great passing zone for the Cup Series. Again, turn 7 was a win. I know that a lot of people are going to say that turn is gimmicky, and I agree with you. There are some gimmicks involved in that to create chaos, but it did its job. It made this race much more entertaining. It made the Roval a much more entertaining track, in my opinion. That leads me back into the Cup race and rating it above or below the yellow line. Like I said, turn 7 was an absolute win. Good job for NASCAR, and kudos to Charlotte Motor Speedway for making those configurations to make this a very compelling race. I think the playoffs and the playoff storylines that we had, especially coming down to the wire, made this race super fun. I will say, as is typical for Charlotte Motor Speedway and just the Roval in general, is we kind of saw the top 5 cars just really pull away, which is completely fine. It was just very hard for these cars to get back together once they were super spread apart. We did have some good battles in the mid-pack, which was good. And we did see cars that played with pit strategy and that were able to race their way from the back of the pack to the front of the pack, changing up their calls. So overall, the Roval race was pretty solid. It wasn't my favorite race of the year, but it wasn't my least favorite race of the year. It was compelling. It had good storylines, and ultimately the racing was fine. I'm going to give it a 66%, which is above the yellow line. So what did you think of the Roval race, and who do you have making it to the championship four? Before the playoffs began, I put Reddick, Larson, Blaney, and Bell in my championship four. So far, fingers crossed, so good. So we'll see if I was right all the way back before we started the playoffs at Atlanta. But let me know all your thoughts in the comments below. And with that, we are done with this episode of Above the Yellow Line. Make sure to get all your NASCAR news from TobyChristieCom. And of course, to catch more content for NASCAR and for the short tracks, make sure to go to RacingAmerica.com. You might see me on their page interviewing some of the Cup Series drivers after the race weekends. And of course, for more about us, make sure to go to AboveTheYellowLine.com. And for the month of October only, we have exclusive merch that we are selling that benefits Dysautonomia International. So make sure to buy that merch, only available for the month of October. Last thing I want to say, it was so refreshing going to the track as a fan. I missed kind of just enjoying the sport that I love, so I had so much fun. And I also loved getting to meet a lot of you throughout the race weekend, whether it was at Spire Motorsports Fan Day when I was working with Racing America, or whether it was at the track and many of you came up to me to say, hey, I love that. So thank you all so much for saying hi, and I hope you all had a great race weekend. Let's try to meet up again at Martinsville. I'll be at Martinsville for the Xfinity Series race and the Cup Series race as a fan before next season. So we'll see what happens there. But thank you all so much. Again, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, share this with your friends and family. And until next time, I'll see ya. Bye.